This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
Hi, welcome to Positive Momentum TV. I'm Diane Silva, and today my guest is Lori Sysel. Lori has been on the show before and actually agreed to come back. Thank you, Lori. One of the things we wanted to kind of talk about, Lori and I's energy is unique, and we've known each other for 20 plus years. And one of the things that has been in development into the whole 20 years and we've had in common is we enjoy writing. And we enjoy stories, and Lori has some awesome stories. She's great. She's a great wordsmith and great storyteller, and she's in the process of writing a book, which we touched on last time. And like I said, the stories have been in development. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is? The June Cleaver in you comes out, and the stories kind of roll and run with this. Both topics. Pick one.
Pick one. Well, I guess the idea for the story just started because I'm kind of a smart aleck, and that's how I raise my children. Instead of doing, and not that I don't scream and yell sometimes, everybody does, but I try to lead with humor. And so some of the things that I've come across in raising our children and some of the stories that have happened, like I think last time I told you this story, I told the kid they had to watch those stupid TV shows with their fingers in their ears so they didn't ruin my couch when their brains rotted.
Yes.
Yeah, they understood. One of the stories is one of our son's buddy, Mikey. Sorry, Mikey, you're always Mikey to me. He's Mike now, but the boys would come over and pick Zach up, and then they would all go out. They would go out, to the park or wherever. And I always said, "You boys be good. Or, you boys behave now, okay?" And Mikey always said, "We will." Well, one day they brought a new friend over, and Zach's bedroom was in the basement, and so Mikey and the kid went into the basement, and the kid came back up the stairs, and he was going to stand by the front door and wait for the boys to come up. I said, "You boys behave now." He said, "We'll try." And then Mikey came up the stairs, and I said, "You obviously didn't tell him about me, did you?" And he said, "Dude, what did you say to her?" And so the kid told him, and he said, "No, no, no, no. You say we will. That's the only thing she accepts." Well, a few weeks later, Mikey came over, and he was standing at the front door, and Zach came up, and they were headed out the door. And I was at the kitchen. I was at the stove cooking, and I realized that I had not heard the door shut. And so standing on my stove, I can look down the front steps to the front door, and I looked down, and Mikey was standing there, and he said, "We'll behave, okay?" I said, "Sorry, Mike." So they expected it from me. They knew, I'd come into the room, and the boys always knew that there was something, I would, if something, they would say something, and I would tell them something they didn't like, I would just say, "Deal with it."
Yes, exactly.
So I came into the room one day, and there were 3 or 4 of them sitting in the family room, and one of them said something. I said, "Yeah, and you know what I have to say about that, don't you?" And like 2 or 3 of them, "I know, deal with it."
But that's the beauty of you. People know this is what we're going to get, Don't expect a straight answer because, but there are times you're going to get one.
Yeah, but people are usually confused if they get a straight answer from me.
Yeah, I see that. I've experienced that. It's like, wait a minute.
What's wrong with her today?
Well, what does that mean? Hello, wait a minute, Lori, you all right? Talk to me. What aren't you trying to tell me? What's going on here? So I don't know. We've had so many unique experiences. I remember the day we met. We were having a party at the house.
Yep.
Back in Papillion, and I think it was a military event. My ex was military. Your spouse was military.
Your ex and my husband worked together for a long, long, long time.
And I think we were sitting, me and I was in the kitchen doing something, and suddenly, I mean, this bubbly personality just kind of, wee, hi, how you doing? I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, I remember the day my husband came home, and he never wanted to go. You know, he was not big on socializing. You know, Christmas parties sometimes, things like that. But he came home and said, "We're going to a party with one of the guys I work with," and I said, "I don't know any of those people."
Well,
And it was kind of out of character for me to
Yeah.
be
bubble, yes.
like that, because I just didn't do that. But I remember standing in the kitchen, you and I, and we were both just,
Yeah.
and we couldn't stop talking.
Yes, I remember that very well. You know, it was just, but it was an instant connection.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was.
magnetic.
Yeah.
And quite, you know, and that was, Emily was what, 3 months old at the
She
time?
was 3 months old, yeah.
Yeah, and it was 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and
Do you remember the day she stopped calling you Dinan?
Oh my God, that broke my heart. Her daughter used to call me Dinan.
She could not say Diane for anything.
Yes.
She'd run in the house and up the stairs, Dinan, Dinan, and she would throw herself at you.
Yes.
And I remember that day she walked in, we were going up the stairs, and she said, Diane!
You know what?
And you looked at me and you said,
I still,
what?
I still feel myself tearing up. I'm like, no. That's just so
Well, and I think
wrong.
that's the cool thing about our friendship, is that we have each watched the other person's children grow up, and you know, now you have grandchildren, and it's fun to see where the children, you know, Emily was in a carrier. Patches
Yeah, I remember Pat.
was
Oh,
very protective of Emily when she was a
Yes.
baby. But you know, we've been able to watch each other's children grow up. And last time we mentioned Angel, and I think we kind of beat her up a little bit.
Yes, I'm
but
sorry,
she's grown into such a wonderful, powerful young woman, and she's a great mom. And you know, I had the privilege of watching her daughter when she was first born, and that to me was.
right.
That's the greatest compliment, when somebody
Yes.
that you have, you know, called out in front of a room full of people comes to you and says, please, here's my most precious thing in the world. Will you take care of her for me?
And she knew you would. You know, it's just, you know, I can't complain, and I'm not saying I had a hand in all of this, but every one of my kids I'm very proud of. They have all turned into wonderful, wise adults.
Yes.
You know, I don't know where some of this came from or how it came about, and I'm assuming, and I will say some of it's probably came from extended family, and that's what you are. You know, your extended family. My ex, you know, he had his hand in a lot of it too.
Right.
You know, my skills were lacking. You know, one of my siblings, you know, used to ask me how I parent. How did I get to be such a good parent? And I'm like, oh gosh, you know, I'm not a good parent as far in my eyes.
But I think we all do that. We're our own worst critic. And people, you know, when you say to me, or when you tell them what a great parent I am, I think, oh, but
yeah,
no. there have been some big missteps, and there have been some big blunders, and you know, there have been things that I should have seen that I didn't see, and there have been things that I, you know, saw that maybe I could have reacted differently to. But I think the whole thing is that teaches our children that everybody can just be human. Everybody gets to be
Yes.
just who they are. Our son, first year of college, he was in Norfolk, and he didn't have, I mean, he was living in the dorms, and he couldn't have a job, so he didn't have any money at all. And so for Christmas that year, he wrote me a letter.
oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Possibly
goodness.
one of the most precious gifts I've ever been given. And it talked about what I did for him growing up. And one of the things that I remember that the letter said was that I taught him that men do cry, that it's okay for a man to shed
I got
tears.
chills.
And ironically, one of the second most precious gifts I've ever been given came from Angel. And it was not long after our little situation.
Yeah.
My birthday came very shortly after that.
Yes. Go
And
ahead.
there was a song out then. It was called 26 Cents. And the one verse in the song, here's a penny for your thoughts and a quarter for the call and all of your mama's love. And Angel, who I did not expect this at all from, gave me a card, and I still have it. And the card had 26 cents taped to the inside of it.
That is so cool.
And that was, my mom calls those bucket filler moments. There's people in the world that fill up your bucket with nice things, and then people that come by behind them, and they when they're not kind to you or they say mean things, and they dip out of your bucket. Well, that was a bucket filling moment for me, because you don't always get to know when you've touched somebody's life. You don't always get to know. I looked at it as, when you guys left that day, I went, oh my God, what did I just do? I called her out in front of her mom and her siblings and everybody. And I think that bonded us, her and I.
It did, because, and forgive me, right now, I just had an epiphany. And, they say that people come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And I think Angel and you were meant to connect.
Yes, I think so.
You were the angel she needed. I was her I guess I'm going to call guardian. That's the best word I can come up with. I got to parent, but, it wasn't the relationship she needed. I think you were the relationship she needed. Does that make sense? And
It does.
There's no judgment.
No,
it's just an it's like, holy crap, I get it. It took this moment to have that aha moment. And I think it's wonderful that everybody needs that person they are meant to connect with.
Yes.
And that will help them and support them and help them become the person they wish to be.
Right.
I tried. I think I was just not in the right place. I did what I felt I needed to do. And I was going through my own stuff at the time too.
Right.
And
well, and sometimes the child or the parent, whoever, whether it's whatever the relationship is, whether it's a spouse, children, whatever, you need that third party, somebody who's not right there involved, not in the thick of it. You were too close. You were the mom, and
mom figure.
So she couldn't, it wasn't going to work. You two butted heads.
We really did. We butted heads a lot, and it didn't help the situation. The way events turned out,
But that can change too, Children, we grow up and things.
It'll happen when it's meant to happen.
Things change. I know that, I've seen it before. People who have had rocky relationships with somebody in their family, whether it's a sibling or a parent, and at some point, it just all falls away. All of the bad stuff falls away, and they're able to communicate with each other on an adult level. And you can't say, I'm going to forget what happened, but you can say, not forgiving is hurting me.
Right, and it's hard to, I was just talking with someone who was having an issue with someone else recently, and they're saying, I need this person to do this, I need this person.
But
you can need it all day long, it ain't going to happen.
yeah.
And until you forgive and that's where I'm just, oh man. I don't even know if I have the words for this. It's one of the things I've just realized, and I've realized, but it's that finally it was said either enough times or the right way that it went, oh my God. Because I know there was times, I'll be honest, I was jealous of your relationship with Angel. I have to be frank about it, and I'm sure you picked up on that, but the point is, I didn't realize how much it hurt. But at the same time, it's like, I know she needed this.
Right.
And this wasn't about me. This was about the person she needed. I couldn't be that person. I could barely be the person I needed.
Well, and like you said, you were going through a lot of stuff yourself at that time. But sometimes children and parents just butt heads like that. I've seen it a lot, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. Sometimes they're too much alike, and sometimes they're just too vastly different.
Or they just have too much garbage.
Yeah.
Because
you start building up walls.
And Angel and Tiffany had both been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came and things were looking to calm down. And then they went through some more stuff.
Right.
And although the more stuff was probably the best stuff that for everybody involved, it didn't feel like it. And I know I'm talking code, and I apologize.
Well, but change is messy and difficult, but it's all necessary.
Right, it just could have been done differently, where everybody would have been more validated.
But you know, that's the way life works. Life is messy. Life is difficult. My in-laws are a prime example of that.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that too much.
Well, but I'm just saying, you know, there are
Yeah,
relationships that can be difficult, and there are things that we do that you do it because it's not being the bigger person, but
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
letting the other person's baggage and garbage bring you down. I tell my children all the time, I told Emily this, Emily had a lot of trouble with being bullied when she was in school, and I would say, do not allow them to bring you down. And I can't remember who said it, I should remember this, but never argue with an idiot, for they will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. And I would tell her, you can't tit for tat with them. You can't argue with them. It's not going to do any good. All you can do is just take the high road, walk away.
And that is so hard sometimes, because sometimes we are so emotionally tied up in that whole situation that we can't sever that. It's almost like we're magnetically pulled.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. That's the best way I can put it. Is you're just stuck.
You're stuck there
until you can flip that switch and just all you're doing is making your own life miserable by not letting it go.
Right. But consequently, now she's learned how not to treat people. Mm-hmm. And when she sees that behavior in other people, she steps up. And she leads this charmed little, there is something about that girl where she works. If somebody is talking to her in a way that's disrespectful, somebody else always hears it, and it almost always works out that someone hears it and they come up and they tell the other person that is inappropriate and do not ever speak to her that way again.
So she doesn't need to do it, because sometimes when you try to do it for yourself, it doesn't work out well.
It doesn't work out, yeah. But she does stand up for herself. She has learned to stand up for herself. She has learned to stand up for other people. You want to see that child get her back up, say something bad or disparaging about somebody who has a disability. You will see a whole other side of Emily Sysel, because it won't end well for you. She will let you know this quick, that was inappropriate. Don't you ever do that again.
And that's wonderful. And I think I have no idea where she got that from.
I can take a little bit of credit, but she had some really, really great teachers at school.
Well, that's what I said. It takes a village.
It does.
You can lay the best foundation, but you being so close to her, it's great. But at the same time, that's only one example. If she sees the examples coming in from all other places, and then experiences stuff, that's the best teacher.
Well, the other thing she kind of got a double dose of it. is she's just a little bit stubborn. So.
Just a little bit.
Don't know how that happened.
But again, we need that, because if we don't have a little bit of stubborn, we are too flexible.
Right.
We want to be that bamboo. We want to be able to flex without being knocked over.
Right.
And we don't necessarily want to be the oak in monsoon season, because we may just snap.
Exactly.
We talk about trees. I'm a tree hugger.
Well, and her stubbornness has served her well. So, she's made some changes in the direction she wants her life to go. She was studying one thing, and now she's decided she found her passion.
Good.
And she's headed in a different direction, but it's good for her, and it's going to be a real positive thing, and she's got a lot of really wonderful people backing her up. And as a parent, to step back and to watch this unfold, it's pretty incredible. Right. And it's the same way with our son. He started out heading in one direction and realized that the direction he was going was a little too focused, and so he's I look at him, I stand back and watch him. He's this tall, confident young man who's just,
And they're happy.
And they're happy.
They're loved.
Yes.
And they're secure.
Yes.
I mean, that's the best thing any parent could wish for. And that's where I'm going to circle around back to the angel thing. You know, I love her beyond words. Our relationship is strained at best. But the fact that she's got you, and, you know, yeah, my part of this hurts a little bit, but I have to be okay with this.
Yeah.
Because I truly want what's best for every one of my kids.
Sure.
And if each one of them had someone in their lives that could be that encompassing, you know, love and Lori.
Well, and there were a couple of times when I did wonder if it bothered you.
It
But
doesn't matter. It didn't.
Well, you know, it crossed my mind, but at the same time, okay, I know she's not a child anymore, but she's still like a child of, you know,
She
it's that
is.
extended family. She's like a child to me, of mine.
Right.
And so when they reach out to you, you don't want to say, you know, did you call your whoever?
Right.
You know, because if they need you and they reach out to you, and when she reaches out to me, then she knows I'm not going to blow sunshine up her skirt.
Right.
And she knows that if I think that she's misbehaving, she knows that I will tell her that too.
Wow. This whole thing has been quite enlightening, because one of the things I just realized is I got to feel, the universe tends to always give me both sides of every situation. Any situation I'm in, I will get to experience the opposite side. I get to see what Karen felt like.
Yes.
That's exactly what this is. I get to see what Karen felt like.
Yes, I hadn't looked at it like that, but yeah.
It just, as you're talking, it's like, you know, and like, oh my gosh, I actually got, again, it's a blessing and a curse, because I won't allow myself to judge anything anymore, because I will get the experience of being on the opposite side of
Yes.
whatever it is I'm dealing with, whether it be paying child support, receiving child support, whether it be being a parent and having your child go to someone else, or being the person that the child goes to,
Right.
or anything else, no matter what it is.
But you know what? That it is a blessing and a curse. But wow, how incredible is it?
It's incredible, but it's quite an emotional experience, because, and I'm going to really expose myself for a minute. Growing up, I had the biggest judgments against people who were overweight. Guess what I got? I got to experience this side of it, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's emotional. It's disheartening at sometimes. It hurts.
But then you get to. I mean, we don't choose. Sometimes thoughts come to us, and we don't
Right.
choose those thoughts; they just come to us.
Right.
But now you get to, you have experienced both sides of that coin, and so you can be empathetic toward Karen.
Yes.
But then you can also be grateful that if she wasn't able to come to you, that she had someone to go to. Because I used to
Right.
tell my kids that there are going to be times in your life when there's something happening that you can't come to me
Right.
and talk to me about it. And I wish that you could always come to me. I hope that you always feel like you can talk to me about anything. And sometimes they tell you things you really didn't want to know.
Right.
But I gave them a list of people when they were younger. I gave them a list of people. These are the people that you can go to. And you can talk to them. And unless you want them to tell me, they don't have to tell me.
Right.
If you need to speak to somebody in confidence, these are the people that you can go to. And it wasn't just a small group of people that I didn't want to keep it close so that they would
Right.
feel compelled to tell me. I truly wanted them to know, whatever it is, you can go to one of these people. And then as they got a little bit older, then they made those choices for themselves.
Right.
But those early teen years, those are so precarious and so difficult for moms and dads and the kids. It's hard.
Yes.
Because they're learning to fly a little bit. We've got to give them roots, but we've got to also let them spread their wings a little bit, because, they need that.
Right, and especially for the times now. And every generation has said the times now. but each group of teenagers is going through something very different than the previous group, than we did, or our parents did.
Right.
So we don't really understand it. So if they can find someone who either gets it or doesn't have that emotional connection to them, but still has their best interest in mind.
Right. Well, and what
Yeah.
they need is somebody that does have their best interest in mind, but that will tell them straight up.
Yeah.
This is how
Don't
it is.
candy coat it.
There's no, right.
Yeah.
Which is why, certain people come to me because they know I am not going to blow sunshine. If I think that you're being a jerk, I'm going to say, maybe you could look at that differently and you could find a different way to react to that. Or if I think that you've been mistreated, I'm going to find a way to say, I'm not going to say, yeah, that person was a jerk or that person was horrible. I'm going to say, look at it like this. You used to call me Jiminy Cricket.
Yes.
And that's kind of how
Yeah.
I try to present myself. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I think you need to hear.
Well, and that's what, because you're not doing anybody a service by telling them what they
No,
you
I
think they
used
wanna
to
hear.
do. I used to be the other person. I used
Yeah.
to know exactly what they wanted to hear, and I could tell them exactly what they wanted to hear.
And-
And then I would be doing a disservice to myself. I would go back and say, "Wow, that's not going to end well."
No, and what if you just you haven't taught them anything,
Right.
except for how to be how to schmooze,
Yeah.
or just let's put frosting over that. Nobody's going to notice, or sweep it under the rug, or whatever. They're not going to learn how to be able to take candid comments.
Right.
They're not going to be able to learn how to. Okay, yeah, I screwed up. Oops,
Yeah.
this is what this feels
That,
like.
I think that is the number one thing that we owe our children is we need to allow them to know that we don't think we're perfect and we
Right.
make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, we admit that we made a mistake and then we say, you know what, when I did that, I shouldn't have done it like that. I need to do, this is what I should have done. Let them see that human side of you. Let them see that you messed up. And that it's okay to admit that you messed up. It's not only okay, it's necessary.
Perfect. Well, thank you for watching Positive Momentum TV. We'll see you on the next episode. Sorry.
No.
So.